Hello. We get to start Core 5 today. This is all about evolution and the process that drives evolution, which is natural selection and Charles Darwin. So, topic 1 says the evidence of evolution. It says biological evolution occurs when heritable characteristics of a species change. Okay? So, as always, we need to break down the vocabulary. So this is Core 5, question 1a. So it says heritable characteristics. Well, what does heritable mean? As in inheritance. If I have a family member that passes away and they leave some of their items or their money to me, that is my inheritance. So what does heritable mean? This is anything that can be passed down. From parent to offspring. See, I might have the most wonderful characteristics, but if I cannot pass that on to M, then it's not useful in a biological context. So in order to pass on helpful, beneficial alleles, they have to be heritable. And then when we talk about a characteristic, this is the phenotype of the organism. What do you see physically? What do you see on the outside of the organism? Now, what we see on the outside is caused by the expression of the genotype. See, this all ties together. When we talked about DNA and transcription and translation and protein synthesis, that is directly related to evolution because evolution is based on your fitness, your phenotype, your coloration, your maybe horns, claws, poison, your speed, your eyesight, your vision, all of these things. These are all of your phenotypic characteristics. Well, your phenotype is nothing more than the expression of the genes that you carry. Well, how do we express genes? That right there, that is transcription and translation. All of these things are linked together. So it says that we have to have heritable characteristics. What does that mean? Now that we know what heritable means and we know what a characteristic is, what are heritable characteristics? This is the phenotype. That is passed from parent to offspring through genes, sections of DNA that code for proteins. Okay? Then it says biological evolution occurs when these heritable characteristics of a species change. See, that's what evolution is. Evolution is change. In fact, it's the cumulative changes. The cumulative change in heritable characteristics. Again, be comfortable with the vocabulary. Cumulative, what does that mean? That means all together. The sum of the parts, okay? And then evolution. Evolution is change. And it says in the heritable characteristics. So the genes that are passed on from generation to generation change over time. Thus, evolution is the genetic change of a population. And it has to be genetic because that's the heritable part, right? Evolution is the genetic change. Now, not of an individual, but of a population. See, evolution is just change, all right? So my relationship with all of you evolves. That relationship starts in high school and evolves as we spend more time together. It evolves again when you're in college. It will evolve again once you graduate college and you start your career. Evolution is just change. When we talk about biological evolution, that's change in the genetic composition, the gene pool, but not of an individual, of a population, right? Individuals do not evolve. My genotype is fixed, right? So individuals do not evolve. Well, then what evolves? Populations. The group of individuals. That is extremely important. A lot of people don't understand that. They think that the individual sits there and then all of a sudden, poof, the individual, gets an extra toe or a horn gets bigger. That's not the way it works, all right? The allele frequencies, which is what we'll talk about next, how often you see certain characteristics become more or less common. Those are frequencies, okay? So evolution is the genetic change of a population over time. The evolution of the population is caused as certain heritable characteristics are passed on, while other heritable characteristics are not passed on, what we call beneficial and detrimental alleles. It either helps the individual or it harms them. Okay? So this genetic change over time, this evolution, results in a change of allele frequencies. Well, you say, well, what's an allele? Alleles are different forms of a trait. We commonly talk about hair color. Hair color is the trait. Blonde is an allele. Brown is an allele. Red is an allele. So certain alleles are beneficial, they're helpful. Those alleles become more common, their frequency increases. Detrimental or harmful alleles, cystic fibrosis, sickle cell anemia, color blindness, those are all detrimental alleles because they lower the evolutionary fitness of the individual. Okay? So then a frequency is simply how often the allele appears. So how often do you see the allele? That's it. And then there's two kinds of alleles. The allele either increases your evolutionary fitness or the allele lowers your evolutionary fitness. So what does that mean? It means that beneficial alleles become more common while the detrimental or harmful alleles, of course, they become less common. Okay? And so what people say is, oh, the organism adapts, right? The population adapts. There is adaptation. Hold it, that's change over time. That's evolution. I am fascinated when people talk about adaptations and they don't hesitate to drop that word for a second. But you drop the term evolution and people have a very quick and emotional response to that. Be aware of that, all right? Be aware that people respond to this term, but they don't respond to this term. These are the same thing. It's genetic change of a population over time. The alleles that are helpful, that are beneficial, become more common, and the alleles that are detrimental and lower the evolutionary fitness become less common. That change over time, by definition, that genetic change over time, is the evolution of the species. That's 1A.